Welcome back to Klepper's Corner, Today in History. Today we're looking at March 20th, a date that somehow manages to be both spiritually enlightened and historically unhinged, like if a yoga retreat suddenly annexed Poland. It's the spring equinox, the moment the Earth politely tilts itself into balance, giving us equal day and night, which is adorable because humanity immediately uses that cosmic harmony to overthrow governments, launch invasions, and invent multinational corporations. Nature says balance, and humans say, yeah, but what if we monetize spices and destabilize continents? Segment 1, Cosmic Balance, Human Chaos. March 20th is anchored by the vernal equinox, when the sun crosses the celestial equator and day and night are roughly equal, which sounds like the universe trying to enforce fairness, a concept humans immediately rejected sometime around the invention of kings. This date has been used for everything from Nowruz, a 3,000-year-old Persian New Year celebrating renewal, to the United Nations declaring the International Day of Happiness, which is bold considering most of the planet is still buffering emotionally. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, they celebrate by blowing up a giant snowman called the Boog, which is either a weather ritual or the most Swiss way possible to process seasonal depression. And in Mexico, at Chichen Itza, a shadow serpent slithers down a pyramid, which is a beautiful reminder that ancient civilizations aligned architecture with the cosmos, while we align ours with parking minimums and a Starbucks drive-thru. Segment 2, Empire's Power and that one guy who would not stay gone. March 20th is also a fantastic day if you're into coups, consolidations of power, or just aggressively dramatic returns. In 1602, the Dutch East India Company was founded, essentially inventing the modern corporation and the concept of, hey, what if a business also had an army? Then in 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who treated exile like a temporary inconvenience, marched back into Paris after escaping Elba. He basically walked up to an army sent to stop him, opened his coat, and said, "Shoot me." And the soldiers instead said, "Now we're good," and joined him. That's not strategy. That's charisma mixed with historical main character energy. His return kicked off the 100 Days, which is what happens when Europe collectively says, "We just finished fixing this," and Napoleon says, "Actually, you didn't." It all ended at Waterloo, proving once again that overconfidence is a great leadership quality, right up until it isn't. Segment 3, America figures itself out loudly. In the United States, March 20th is less about balance and more about escalating arguments into full-blown historical consequences. In 1852, Harriet Beecher Stowe published Uncle Tom's Cabin, a novel so influential it basically forced the country to confront slavery by emotionally devastating everyone who read it. 2 years later, in 1854, a group of anti-slavery activists met in Ripon, Wisconsin, and said, maybe we should start a whole new political party about this, which became the Republican Party. So in the span of 24 months, America went from reading a book to reorganizing its political system, which feels like the most American possible reaction to literature. Meanwhile, in 1816, the Supreme Court quietly decided it could review state court decisions, which is the legal equivalent of saying, actually, we're in charge now. And everyone just had to nod and pretend that wasn't a massive power shift. Segment 4, Science Breaks Reality. Again. March 20th is also where science decided to rewrite the rules of the universe. Twice. Isaac Newton, who basically invented physics as we know it, died on this date. Although even that is confusing because of calendar changes, meaning Newton couldn't even die without creating a math problem. Then, in 1916, Albert Einstein published the general theory of relativity, which politely informed Newton that gravity isn't a force, but the bending of space-time, essentially turning the universe into a cosmic trampoline. So on this one date, we go from apples falling on heads to reality itself curving like a bad mattress. Also born on this day was B.F. Skinner, who decided human behavior could be reduced to rewards and punishments, which explains everything from dog training to social media algorithms. And Maud Menton helped explain how enzymes work, which is less flashy but incredibly important unless you enjoy not digesting food. Segment 5, War, Terror, and Consequences That Never End. Of course, because it's March 20th, we also have to talk about modern history deciding to spiral. In 1995, the Shinrikyo cult released sarin gas in the Tokyo subway, proving that even the most orderly societies are vulnerable to chaos, especially when that chaos has a chemical weapons program and a very strange belief system. Then, in 2003, the United States launched the invasion of Iraq, based largely on intelligence that turned out to be, let's say, extremely optimistic. The invasion toppled Saddam Hussein quickly, but created a power vacuum so massive it basically became a historical sinkhole, leading to years of conflict, hundreds of thousands of deaths, and the eventual rise of ISIS. It's a reminder that starting a war is easy, but ending one is like trying to untangle headphones in your pocket, except the headphones are geopolitics and the pocket is on fire. Segment 6, Culture, Creativity, and the People Who Make Sense of It All. And yet, somehow, March 20th also gives us the people who help us process all of this chaos. Ovid, the Roman poet, was born on this day and wrote Metamorphoses, a collection of myths about transformation, which feels appropriate because history on this date is basically one long transformation montage. Henrik Ibsen was born on this day and decided theater should stop being polite and start being real, exposing societal hypocrisy like a 19th century truth bomb factory. Fred Rogers was also born on March 20th, and he spent decades teaching children kindness and emotional intelligence, which feels like the universe trying to balance out everything else on this list. Then there's Spike Lee, who used film to confront racial injustice, and Bobby Orr, who redefined hockey, proving that even in a world of war and empire, humans will still find time to argue about sports statistics. In conclusion, March 20th is a perfect example of how history doesn't move in a straight line. It lurches forward in bursts of brilliance, conflict, and reinvention. It's a day where the cosmos offers balance, and humanity responds with ambition, creativity, and occasionally catastrophic decision-making. From equinox rituals to imperial power plays, from scientific revolutions to cultural breakthroughs, March 20th reminds us that every moment of renewal comes with disruption, and every step forward is usually accompanied by someone yelling, "Wait, what are we doing?" And that, in its own chaotic way, is history.